Sophie and Marco dish out on the movies. And today, congratulations to our channel, Sophie and Marco dish out on the movies. We have reached 100 plus subscribers. While we both have our names on our channel, Marco does a lot more reviews because I'm a part-time reseller. As a salute to our 100 subscriber achievement, Marco suggested we watch a 100-year-old movie, which is interesting and good idea. And so I'll just say, how did we find one? Well, you Google it, and then you get a list, which it's not that big, and you pick out some that will sound interesting, and you look them up on YouTube, and if they're there, and you pick out the one you like the best. I guess he could talk further about how he found it, but today, before we start though, Marco has something he wants to do, but the movie was called Destiny. I just wanted to tell you that. Now I'll let Marco talk, and he wants to do
Hey everybody! Happy 100 subscribers from Marco. I have a little statistic, and then I want to talk about Destiny and how I picked it. So, there is a vicious rumor and a theory and a statement that people like to make, and it's that, Marco, he doesn't like anything. He hates everything. He doesn't give any movies good reviews. And to those people, I say you need to watch the channel more, because it's clear that you only pick and choose what videos to watch, and you're not really giving a completely fair judgment. Because I went back and I went through all of our movie reviews, including ones where it was just me, with where in the pandemic era, where I did 5 movies a week, and I would do that as a little show, which was kind of fun. And I figured out that I have a 66% chance that I'll like a movie. So that, I'm sorry, but no, I don't hate everything, and I don't give everything negative reviews. That is a complete fabrication and a lie. And so 66% chance, huge chance that I'll like a film. That's counting movies that I just think are okay or good. You know, it has to be bad, and so that's a huge chance. And then I calculated for Sophie. Sophie only has a 60% chance she'll like a film, so that's 6% lower than me. And yet, we've always maintained that Sophie is the nice one, and she's the one who's kissing the filmmakers' asses every movie and pretending like everything is good, and she's like, I don't want to disparage anyone. But it turns out that she's actually more negative than me. So, that's a twist. What do you think about that, Sophie?
I don't care.
You don't like anything because you only like 60%, whereas I like 66%.
Well, that's the way it is.
In fact, it's worse for TV shows for both of us. I think both of us only have a 30-something% chance of liking TV shows.
Yeah.
Because we only review a couple of them. And so we reviewed that shitty Fargo, shitty Better Call Saul, shitty Biggest Loser. So we don't really review any good TV shows, unfortunately.
I don't know if there's any good TV shows on.
Nope. I can't think of any. I guess The Blacklist, even though I haven't caught up, I haven't watched multiple seasons. I haven't watched seasons 4 through whatever. So that's a lot to catch up on. And so for this 100 subscriber video, I thought it would be best to pick a movie that was 100 years old. And I ended up picking Destiny for multiple reasons. Number one, Alfred Hitchcock's favorite movie is Destiny, which is really hilarious, because I don't want to say why yet, but let's just say it's extremely hypocritical of Hitchcock to like this film because of certain things that you could compare to his filmmaking and what everyone talks about with him. And then I read the synopsis. The synopsis will come heavily into the review of this movie. The synopsis said something like, a man and a woman go to a town and an inn to stay there. And then Death himself comes to town too and kidnaps the guy and keeps him or holds him inside this building where no one can go into. And so from that, and then he forces the woman to go through trials to get her husband back, or whatever he was, fiance, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so I thought it would be a story about where Death, for some reason, kidnaps this guy, and she's got to go through the trials to get him back. Simple story. And Safi will reveal what the story really was. Safi?
Want me to do that now?
Let's stop.
Well, let's say where it debuted. It debuted in Germany first on October 6, 1921. Of course, that was 100 years ago. It was called, this is bad pronunciation, and I apologize, but I just don't know any better. Even though I have a German background, as Marco does, because we're related. And it was Der Mud Todd.
Der Mud Todd.
Or in English, Weary Death, a German folk story in 6 verses.
The Mud Todd.
And in the USA, it debuted a few years later as a movie called Behind the Wall. It was directed by Fritz Lang and, quote, inspired, according to Wikipedia, by an Indian folktale called Savitri. I am going to try to read the folktale, if possible, if I can find it. It starred Bernhard Gotsky as Death. Death is an actual character. Death, like life and death. The main actress of the young couple, her name is Lil Dagover, and the man who plays her fiancé is Walter Jansen. Now, I never heard their names because you don't hear anything. It's a silent movie, and I didn't see anything written. So when I talk about those two, I'll just say them by their actor and actress's name. Okay, so Lil and Bernhard have the biggest roles, as well as, that's Death and the woman. And you actually see them like almost through the entire movie. And what happens is, and I just want to make it clear, is I did not read or watch anything to do with this movie before I saw it. So everything I saw was new to me. And so it really, it would have helped to read about it because it was so convoluted. You really didn't know what was going on half the time. So this is why it was actually helped. I went back and looked, and then it kind of explained things. But if you just watch it and you don't know anything about it, you're going to have a hard time with this movie. And why? Is a movie like that entertaining? No. So well, I'll just tell you what happens. What I saw is what happened. Lil and her fiance go to this pub. I call it a pub because I don't know what it is. It looks like some kind of bar in a small town, like in a village. This tall, skinny man in a black robe and a black hat that looks like a symbol, a black symbol, he sits at the table with them. And they're like, well, who is this guy? You know, they're giving these quizzical looks. And now, in Europe, it's not unusual for someone to sit at your table if it's a busy place. But there were so many empty tables, that's why it was even more confusing. So why does this guy need to sit at our table? So but they don't know who he is. He doesn't speak to them. He does keep looking at them. And so, for some reason, Lil has to get up to do something, and I don't remember what it was.
She goes into this other room, and she starts playing with the cats that are running around.
Okay. I don't even remember that.
Just randomly playing with the cats that are in this back room.
Yeah, and why you would do that? I mean, listen, you're going out with your fiance, whatever, you're going on a date. I guess they're getting married soon. Maybe they're planning their wedding, and all of a sudden you get up and you go to another room and play with somebody else's cats. You've never even been here before. Maybe, I don't know. That's weird. So anyway, she goes back to the table, but guess what? They're gone, and she goes all over the place. Inside the building, they're nowhere. And then she steps outside, and there's nobody else out there. She can't find them. She comes to this wall, and she turns around, and all these ghosts appear before her, like in a line, straight line in front of her. And they come walking toward her, and she's like, ooh, what's going on? And she's scared and confused. And they walk toward her and like through here, and they go walking through the wall. And she's like, what the heck is this? And where's her fiance? And where's that guy in the black? Well, the guy in the black shows up and moves toward her, and she said, where's my fiance? And I guess he says who he is and where he is. He's dead, or he's going to die, or something. I don't know. He doesn't say much of anything. He just looks at her like. And this is one thing that really bugged me about her acting. And I know that it's a silent movie. And when it's a silent movie, everything that you do, your gestures and everything is exaggerated. That's what part of acting in a silent movie is. Your facial expressions and everything that you do, all of your movements are exaggerated. Well, she clings on him, and by the end of the movie, it's like she wants to go away with him, forget about her fiance, almost near the end of the movie, not at the end of the movie, and she just keeps clinging on to him all the time. But he says she wants to go too. She wants to be with her fiance, and he says, no, it's not your time. And he said, I guess he decided to make
But she killed herself, Sophie.
Well, at first he makes a deal with her. And I did get this, if you can believe it.
She killed herself, Sophie.
He says, if you are managed, there's 3 situations going on right now.
Now.
There are 3 couples, and there's the couple in each one of them is going to die.
Very relevant.
And if you can save one of the people in these situations and these couples, then I'll bring back your fiance. And then they move to a shot that shows 3 large white candles. Well, they're medium-sized.
Why are they white candles? Is it racist?
I don't know why they're white, but they're all burnt down, like, I'll say halfway. And you see, they all look exactly alike, and there's lots of candle wax on the outside of each one. They're all 3 burning, and they're in this silent, dark window. And so they go to this first story.
You forgot to mention that Death kills a baby to demonstrate his power.
I didn't see that.
Oh, there was this part where after the stupid woman kills herself, Death is like, I'm dead and I have a hard job. And so he shows that there's like this random baby and it's perfectly healthy and it's fine. And randomly he kills the baby and then the candle goes out. And it's like, oh, that's really nice. That's not the movie I picked out. Because already the boyfriend or whatever the fuck he was, he's dead. And I didn't expect him to be dead. It said in the summary that he's holding him in a building. It didn't say anything about he's dead or he died. They didn't even show how he died.
Well, anyway, we start slogging, and I'm saying it like that because watching the rest of it, which this is like a big chunk of the movie now, you show each of these three situations because you know you've got to show all three, which means she's not going to be successful. I mean, you're thinking about it logically. She's not going to be successful with the first two if they show all three, right?
Yeah.
So, but because after each story, they go back to the candles. Well, one's out. You see the smoke because it's been snuffed out.
What happened in the first story, though, Safi?
I don't know.
That's a good sign that your movie's good.
That's what I'm saying. It was like slogging. Watching these three stories was like slogging through quicksand, meaning trying to walk through quicksand and get to the other side. You know what quicksand is. You're not going to make it to the other side. You're going to go underneath. So, and die.
Not if you, what was that shouted in Goosebumps? And How I Got My Shrunken Head, where he's in the quicksand with that girl, and he's like, "Come here!
Oh, God, my ear.
And that gets him out. Some sort of magic word.
Well, there is no magic words. And I have trouble, like a lot of these movies, I have, like later in the day, because I get up extremely early. I can get up like at 4 o'clock in the morning. So by the evening, I'm tired. And if I'm watching a movie that's like this, I just keep falling asleep. And I nodded off so many times, I was like a bobblehead. And so we go through the first one. Then we go through the second one, and then you go every time you go back to the window and the candles burned out. So you have 2 burned out candles, you're on the last one.
And they play the sad music where it's like it's really sad, and it's a violin every single time something bad happens.
And and you know, we talk a lot about music. We're both he was in band. But I was in orchestra
4 years.
For all of high school. I went to contests, and in college I was in the college orchestra and opera. And so music we grew up with it. It's very important to us. And it really can actually make or break a movie, I believe. And also, we talked about this earlier off camera, but like in a movie Psycho or Jaws, the music is extremely memorable. Some people have never seen the movie before, if you can believe it, but they know the music.
I would make the argument also, though, that you can't always rely on music because
can't.
I would say a movie, Halloween, would be terrible without the music. You know, the original Halloween. But then I actually I actually think that Jaws could work just fine without the music.
Well, it enhances the action, and it builds up the suspense.
Jaws is still a good movie, though, without that music.
Yeah, it is still a good movie. But anyway, I just want to say the music was horrible.
Yeah,
I mean, that was another thing. So you're trying to watch something really not watchable, unwatchable. And then you're listening to music that's horrible. So there's nothing good. And you have to have, you're looking at a movie which is like a building. And it's like falling down around you. You have nothing to sustain it. You have no good story, and you have no good viewing because you can't. I couldn't follow it at all, really. And I was watching it at a time. First, I was tired, but I could see it. But then there was some left, and so I decided. What I did was, in the middle of the night, I wake up. I'm wide awake, so I'm going to watch it. I start watching it, and I just keeps nodding off. I can't follow it.
Well,
and I didn't know what happened. So anyway, but the thing is, the ending was the only, I thought, for me, maybe not for Marco, but for me, it was the only, quote, redeemable thing about it. And that was it, though. There was nothing else. I wouldn't want to watch the movie again.
Yeah, you would.
No, I wouldn't. I couldn't stand it. I'd probably go insane. But anyway, the only redeemable thing was the very end. And I don't, Robert Marco, do you want me to tell what the ending
Well,
is?
it's 100 years old, Sophie.
I don't care.
I'm gonna spoil all of this crappy movie because what do you have to say, Sophie, to the people who say, "Oh, you stupid millennial! You didn't like Destiny, you stupid millennial! You don't understand the art that's in the silent picture."
People, I am older than Marco, and I don't know if I should even give my age.
Stupid millennial.
But I'm 66. I'm not.
Oh.
I'm not a millennial. Okay, and I do. What do I sell? Probably at least 3/4 of the things I sell are vintage and antique. So yes, I do appreciate vintage and antique things. But this movie was just. It was. I'm sorry. If you can't. Why do you watch a movie? Why do you watch a movie? Why does anyone watch a movie? They want to be entertained, right? Or let's say they like a certain person, a certain actor, or they like a certain director. So
a certain
you watch,
genre.
You watch
like
every
the Holocaust genre.
So you watch every single movie you can on that genre, that actor, actress, director, whatever. And because it's like a collection. You're collecting your visuals of what you want to see of them or it. And so why you so but anyway, what helps when you watch a movie? That it entertains you. This isn't entertaining at all. Not one bit. And I think Alfred Hitchcock must have been high, because I don't see how he would like this movie. Well, the ending.
No, the ending's trash.
Well, I like the ending. Well, I like part of it, like a little piece. And anyway, should I say what it is? Or at least I won't be able to say all of it because I didn't understand it. Okay.
I'll explain. But you know what this movie's really like? Remember the time machine where they go into that old library and then they pick up a book and it just collapses into dust?
Yeah.
That's what this movie's like.
Yeah, pretty much. It would be like, this would be an illustration in the book that was still intact, and the rest of it would be because bugs have gotten into it, or it got water damaged, and you have this one, and it's the books in pieces, and pages, stray pages, and the redeeming quality that I'm talking about is like on a page. It's like one illustration on a page. That's the only thing left to the book. Okay.
Well, and so let's talk about this plot. Well, here's the thing. The reason why I said what was Alfred Hitchcock thinking is because Alfred Hitchcock's movies are known for being visual and telling story without sound and without dialogue sometimes, and focusing on objects. In this movie, they don't do any of that. This movie is so plot focused. It's so focused on spectacle. It's focused on, oh look, this is a giant set that we built.
And it was big.
This is a big group of people. We got to dress up in costumes. And look at this plot going on. There's like a plot point per minute. And it just never stops. And you never understand any of it. I understood it, though, because I was sort of able to try to interpret it a little bit. The first story... And here's the thing, though. The stories did get progressively better. The first story is about some weird Middle Eastern kingdom where there's this guy and he's having an affair with the daughter of the king or the whatever of the king, I don't know, or the caliph, whatever the F he's supposed to be. And so he's on the run, and then she tells him to come and hide in the castle, and then someone magically hears this talk of him going to the castle, and so they trap him in the castle. That's just, that happens all in the span of like 5 minutes, by the way. And then
it was a quick story.
Yeah, and then the second story was terrible. It took place in Italy.
That was the worst.
And it was
I
just,
couldn't follow it at all.
I couldn't even understand it. It was something about like a sword with poison on it.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's like this spectacle fencing duel, and it was just so bad. And then there was the third story, which was the best one. It took place in China! And it was all about this girl who wanted to be with this poor guy who we have no idea what he's about. But the king wants her to be with him. And so he basically enslaves her, and then there's just so much crap with that. It was so confusing still, because you can tell it's a lot to explain.
Well, don't explain it.
But you got it's part of critiquing it, because it's like you're going through the details of like why specifically was this movie bad.
But we've already said that the stories that are, she's supposed to pick somebody. Well, she does. She picks out all three. She has to. She has no choice, because the first two she fails, and the third it's her last chance to save her fiance.
The third one is the one where it really breaks the story, because you'd think, okay, they're gonna play it where she fails the first two and then she wins the third one, and it's like, okay, that's fine, you know, it's still a piece of crap movie, but but no. First off, you don't even know who the target is. First off, I thought it was the magician, and then I thought it was the boyfriend, and then I thought it was the girl, then I thought it was the magician. Like, I cannot keep up with who is the target. The target is actually the girl herself. So she literally is the target in the third story, which to me is kind of like cheating. It's kind of like unfair in a way. But it's this really weird thing with magic that happens where she gets a wand after she breaks a magician's wand, and then the magician turns into a tree for some reason, and she's able to pick up half of the broken wand and use that as her own wand. And instead of just opening a portal to the United States, or whatever it was, you know what I mean? Like,
well, they're in Germany, so to Germany.
No, but they were in China in the third story.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so,
yeah.
But instead of just opening up a portal to somewhere safe, somewhere else in the world, she chooses to go on this chase sequence that ends in her. What happens at the end, she only has a little bit of magic left, and instead of doing a spell that actually helps them, she turns herself into a statue, and then, if that's not effed up enough, Death interferes in this story, and Death rides up out of the sky on a magic horse, and shoots the boyfriend with a bow and arrow and kills him while she stands there watching as a statue. That's cheating. Death should not have been allowed to interfere. So that was just complete BS. That just totally pissed me off.
Well, tell the ending.
Well, the ending is...
Okay, well, she fails in her three couples. Okay, so at the end of the three stories, they show the window, they show three burned out candles, the smoke is rising from the third one. The life has been snuffed out. The other two are cold, and that's it. So she's like, you know, what do you do when you're a failure? You know, you failed in whatever you wanted to do. You slump your shoulders and you drag
That's what
your
she
feet.
did. She like slumped her shoulders and was like,
and she says, what can I do? And so she starts going up to random people on the street and telling them to kill themselves or die somehow so her fiance will live.
That was really kind of gross to watch.
That was disgusting. I did not like that at all.
That was really gross.
Like looking at her like she's insane.
She
just
was.
as the viewers are.
She was
watching
evil.
her as she was insane.
Because the whole movie.
Why would they do that?
Well, the whole movie, you think she's the hero, but there's no heroes in this movie, except for maybe the homeless person.
At the end, Marco, I don't know exactly
Well,
what was happening.
She's a bad guy. I'll explain it.
Well, hurry up.
She's a bad guy, and it turns out she is a bad guy as well. She's not this hero that you should be cheering for the whole movie. She's terrible herself. In fact, one of the reasons I chose this movie was because Fritz Lang directed it, and he also directed M. And in M, excuse me, there's this child killer played by Peter Lorre, and I would say that that child killer is more sympathetic than this woman because of how evil she is. I mean, she actually thinks that this is logical, whereas Peter Lorre like had a mental illness. He was actually mentally ill physically as well as mentally. And so that really surprised me because I didn't expect to think that he is less evil than her. And, of course, Death is the most evil character because he's Death. And, well, what happens is she goes to this hospital and she asks a room full of old people if they want to kill themselves for her. And they all run away. And it's really funny because she makes a sad face when they run away. I thought that was hilarious. Like,
They're like, oh, you don't have any more chocolate ice cream?
Yeah.
Oh, like
That's what
that
she
kind of
looked
a
like.
face. Oh.
It was really creepy.
Huh?
And then what happens is it was really weirdly shot. I couldn't understand what was going on, but the place sets on fire, and then they all evacuate. And then the woman hears that there's a baby still trapped in the building. And so she runs into the building and gets the baby so she could sacrifice it to Death. And even at that point, Death is standing there and judging her and acting like, wow, this bitch is really crazy. And instead of giving the baby to Death, she throws the she lets the baby out the window and
She tosses it gently to the lady below. It's not. She doesn't throw it to its death.
that would have been funny.
They're waiting to get the baby. She's helping it out the window.
And
That's not.
the mom gets it.
She started to hand the baby to Death.
She was.
And he's like looking at her like, really? You really want to do this?
Is that where Michael Jackson got inspired? Remember that with Michael Jackson?
No, I don't know what you're
Where
talking
Michael
about.
Jackson was dangling the baby out the window and it was crying.
Oh, that's can't remember what his that's his youngest son. He's still alive
That was
today.
hilarious.
He's alive. Michael Jackson is dead.
That's what it was like. But then she sacrifices herself so that she can be with her beloved. And then it turns out her beloved's corpse is inside the building for some reason, which makes no sense because how is it that that dead body was allowed to just be stolen? And how is it that dead body, there's no signs of how he died?
And he wasn't sick.
Yeah.
I mean, when they walked into the pub or whatever it was, he wasn't dragging his feet. He wasn't hanging on to her like he was ill. He was just walking normally and with her, and there was nothing. He didn't look sick or anything. And so that's another thing. There was no
explanation.
It didn't make. You don't just die like that. I mean, come on, really?
They could have had some implication. They didn't have to show some graphic killing.
No.
All they had to do was show him stepping in front of a carriage because he's drunk and then getting run over.
And he wasn't drunk either.
Or maybe a horse kicks him in the face and you show the horse's foot kicking around.
He wasn't doing anything.
You could have shown any number of things, but they didn't show anything. And if that's not bad enough, it's the fact that she did not sacrifice herself. She ran into a burning building that was about to collapse. She had no chance of survival. You can't sacrifice yourself to death when you're already gonna die. That's not how it works. And then also, the story is supposedly about love conquering death. But how do they conquer death when they're both dead?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. So
So
what did you rate it, Marco?
Well, this is the first time that we've ever done a consensus rating. Maybe it won't be the last time,
No,
since
never say never.
since a lot of the time I'll tell you what happens is I come up with a rating and then Sophie copies it.
No, I don't.
Or you take inspiration from
Well,
it.
I took inspiration from this one. I don't know how it happened, but
Take it. And
Oh, you
put
want-
it. Yeah, say it.
okay. Well, he said something about Nico candy. I don't know why. But Nico candy are those little wafers that are different colors and they're in a roll. Well, I looked them up and I found out that they are at least 100 years old and they originally were made in 1857. And it wasn't until 1901 that they were bought by this company, and they turned them into the Nico candy.
Yeah.
They've been around for at least 100 years, so that goes perfectly with this movie since it's 100 years old.
Well, that's why I picked it. I was trying to think of something either really old and boring and gross, or something really dark and sad. And because this movie's a Debbie Downer, and so I was thinking, like, should it be a loaf of bread dipped in water or something?
Well, for me, it wasn't just the candy, because if it was just Nico's candy, which I've always liked, it's been around my whole life, okay? And I decided, because this movie had a little surprise, I called it a little surprise because the lady she was really almost ready to give that baby, a crying baby, to death, and he's standing there looking at her like she's insane. And she decides they keep showing the mother outside, and she's she has that crying expression, oh my baby, and she actually drops it safely out, and then she decides to drop it safely out the window to the lady, the mom, and the baby's fine. She rescued the baby. And then the rest of it, I wasn't really sure what was going on, but anyway, so I decided, I give it a Nico's candy review, and
Nico
that it's not
wafers.
just Nico's wafers intact, but you would have 6 rolls of those, and you would smash them to bits and
6
throw them
times.
all over the floor.
And then you'd eat 6 of them.
And then you'd
6,
have
6,
to-
6.
And then you'd have to, if you wanted to eat any, you'd have to eat little pieces. And if you were lucky, you might be able to find one that didn't break, which would probably never happen.
Well,
That was my review of it.
let's pick what was the best Nico flavor. I would say,
Well, the best one is chocolate.
yeah, maybe chocolate. So the one that's not broken is chocolate.
Well, I don't know about that. I just thought there's no
because
sparing any of them. They're all
Well,
broken up.
Because that's the one that represents the good part of the movie at the end that you like.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, there was one wafer out
Ow.
of 6 that was chocolate and not any other flavor. It was just one wafer out of 6 rolls. There's several. I don't know how many there are in a roll, but let's say there's 25. So there's 25 little wafers in every roll. They're pink, green, yellow, white, black, and brown. The brown's chocolate. And there's one chocolate wafer that is not broken out of all 6 rolls, and that's what I gave the act of her, instead of giving the baby over to death, because she knew that would bring her, she probably realized
her
too,
beloved.
her beloved, she's going to go join her beloved in death.
Yeah, they're gonna go conquer death by dying.
Right. So, well, he's already dead, I guess.
I don't know. It doesn't really explain it.
No, and then so she just she lightly tosses the baby out the window because it's a burning building, and they're ready to catch it, and they do, and the baby's fine. And that was that one act was the one chocolate wafer out of 6 rolls of Nico's, which means 6 times 25.
Oh, whatever.
Okay.
Another thing, maybe the last point, I guess, since this has gotten long, because
Yeah.
it's such an epically bad movie.
And I have to do one
There's
more
just
thing at the
so
end.
many. We both have to. And
Okay, well, hurry up.
but someone made a point that I agreed with, that death kept giving her so many chances.
Yeah.
Because I thought, after those 3 trials are over, she's done. But
Yeah,
Death kept on
what I
giving her
thought.
chances, and so there was no reason why Death couldn't just give her back her life with her stupid beloved. There's no reason, because he just kept on helping them. He could have killed someone himself. He could have just picked some random person and just killed him like that, like he killed that baby for no reason.
A different baby.
Yeah, well, he could kill anyone. I mean, he has so much power. This movie's really like a pessimistic view on how Death is really overpowering and he's the leader of everything. It's like a really dark movie, and I did not want to watch this Debbie Downer trash movie, and I regret picking it because it's a piece of trash.
And he's going to try to find another one
Yeah.
to replace it that we can watch and review.
Well, I saw that there was one with Lon Chaney, and I think it's a comedy as well. And I thought, like, what? There's a Lon Chaney? I would have picked the Lon Chaney movie by default over a Destiny Debbie Downer. So go ahead and end with your last thought, Sophie.
Okay, is this supposed to be about Destiny or about the other thing?
The other thing, Sophie.
Okay,
This
well,
is our 100
Marco-
subscriber video.
Marco told me to say what my most favorite review, not my favorite review, favorite movie that we've ever watched, and my least favorite. Well, of course, after this review, this is my least favorite movie that I have seen.
And this is my least favorite movie as well, so it's hilarious. Our movie we picked to watch for 100 subscribers is our least favorite movie.
And my most favorite movie, which is going to surprise Marco, it's a movie that I had heard about, like just the name of it, but I didn't know what it was about exactly. And the reason why is because there's a gigantic surprise in the end. And I love surprises in a movie because instead of it turning out like any old movie or what you would think would ordinarily happen, whatever that may be, romance, like a murder, a haunting, scary things, whatever. This was Sleepaway Camp. And I think probably Marco will have passed out by now.
First one?
The one that we find out what the real deal girl is not a girl,
That's
it's
the
a
first
boy.
one. It's a boy.
And like that knocked me down. And I just was shocked, but I think I was a little bit wasn't shocked, but mostly shocked. And it was such a big surprise and a big twist. I just couldn't believe it. And we actually met the person who played the actress.
Actress who played
Who played him and her.
Angela.
Yeah, so that
Peter.
I didn't know anything about the movie really. I just heard the name. Because, I hear a lot of different names of movies over the years, like Pretty in Pink and all these movies. But I never had the time or the initiative or just the desire to watch them. So because I'm doing this channel and I'm experimenting with different movies, watching them, then I've watched some of these.
Oh, remember what you called Pretty in Pink? You called it an ugly surprise.
Yeah, that was an ugly surprise. But this was kind of something that would knock you over. This kind of surprise. So that was my favorite movie. What about you, Marco? What's your least? Well, you said your least was in agreement with me, and that was this Destiny movie.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I picked the movie before we did this video, so I don't think that Destiny counts technically. So I picked Shock because it's not that the movie was bad, it was that it was boring, and it's a version of a story that's been retold a million times better, and it's also there was nothing to talk about with that movie. Nothing. Except for Vincent Price did an okay job here and there in the movie, and that's it. The movie had nothing to talk about, and so we sat there for 30 minutes trying to talk about it, and there was nothing to talk about. And, I'm surprised Sophie didn't say Tomb of Lingea, Or, I mean, because that movie was so bad, we didn't even review it. And then there was like Dolomite and Glass, all these movies Safi hated, but she picks Destiny, even though it doesn't count. Safi, I've told you that. You didn't listen.
Well, you said if we reviewed it, and we just did.
Yeah, but you pick before we even did the video, so it doesn't count until we actually did the video.
That would be hard. Let's say, well, I'd say Dolomite.
Oh, there you go. Safi's worst movie, and
That was a piece of garbage.
well, she's lucky she didn't watch the original Dolomite, because I suffered and watched the actual movie that they based the shitty Dolomite Is My Name on. And that movie was so bad, I would like to destroy every copy of it. But no, my favorite movie that we've watched and reviewed, it's tough, because there was a lot of great movies that I watched, and then I would force Safi to watch them, like Heathers and Bully. But I'd actually say the best movie is Road Games. And all the Australian movies, because they're different, and it's fun to watch movies that are different, and it's fun to discover hidden gems that you didn't know existed, and they're a lot more different than American films. And I almost picked Garbage Pail Kids, because with that review, we both hated it. And so it was really cool with that movie, because it united our hate towards Garbage Pail Kids. But I actually think that Road Games is the best, because it really signifies that you can find hidden gems that no one talks about. So that's it.
Okay, well, stay tuned and like our channel if you want to. Make a comment if you want to. And subscribe. We would really appreciate your input and your subscription. So, goodbye, everybody.
How many subscribers do we have, Safi?
Well, we have over 100
We
now.
have 102.
Woo!
Ah!
Ugh.
Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Comment. Tell us about Destiny and this terrible movie video.
Don't watch it. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, don't watch Destiny. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.